We got everything live. Everything's going. Let's just get into it. As always, we're going to start with the news first, specifically the business news. Let's see what's happening in the business world. So let's just check out BNN. Yeah, wonder why it's taking forever to load. Okay. Why the six banks could prove shorts wrong again. So I don't know if you folks have been looking into the stock market lately, but basically what's happening is everybody's predicting the stock market's going to go down, and what this short means is it basically means that you have a sell order. When it hits a certain amount of price, your stock is going to sell, and a lot of people have these sell orders thinking that the Bank of Canada is going to raise interest, but maybe it doesn't look like that they will be. So when an investor who has a track record of getting it right calls an asset class overvalued, you listen. And that's exactly what happened on Monday when Steve Easman, whose bets against the subprime mortgage market were made famous in Michael Lewis's The Big Short. Oh yeah, that's this guy, Steve Easman. He was one of the few people that basically had a sell order for the 2008 market crash, and he bet that it was going to go down. He made millions of dollars. Well, his firm did, and himself took aim at Canadian bank stocks in an interview with Bloomberg Television at a conference in Hong Kong. Short Canadian financials, he said. When asked what his top shorting sell ideas are right now, Canadians going to have some issues with their housing market, he later added. It brings to the mind the great white short of 2013 when several US hedge funds bet against Canadian bank stocks, convinced that the Canadian housing market was overripe and set to plunge, taking bank profits and stock prices with it. But neither the Canadian housing market nor the bank stocks cooperated. The housing meltdown never arrived. Shares of banks were flat for the first half of 2013, that began soaring. The S&P Banks Index finished that year 17% higher. That's interesting. And it got worse for the shorts. By the time the late summer of 2014 has rolled out, the index was further 13%. The bank stocks declined in 2015 and early 2016, but then kicked into a rally mode again. Today the index is 60% higher than it was earlier than 2013. The great white short, in other words, blew up in the face of most of the hedge funds that tried it. But Easman is no ill-formed hedge fund manager. He went short on collateralized debt obligation a big way prior to the subprime meltdown of 2007 and made billions for his hedge fund. Is he right this time? To be clear, he seems not to be calling for a full-fledged collapse in Canadian housing, but he does believe housing correction will drive Canadian stocks lower. None of the analysts who cover the Canadian banks are calling for housing market crash in Canada, and on this topic in recent years, they have been correctly pointing out that most of apocalyptic forecast from hedge funds south of the border has been based on the misunderstanding of the Canadian mortgage rules. But they do see a direct connection between Ottawa's tougher mortgage stress test rules and profit growth at the banks. Some say the bank stock that will fare the best over the next year will be those with least residential mortgage exposure. The new mortgage rules introduced by the Office of Superintendent of Financial Institutions are formally referred to as the Final Revised Guideline B20, and require all mortgage lenders in the country to stress test applicants for uninsured mortgages by applying to hypothetical interest rates of 2 full percentage points higher than the rate of being offered to the applicant, or the rate of Bank of Canada's 5-year benchmark rate, whichever is higher. B20 means fewer Canadians will be able to afford mortgage and many others have to settle for smaller loans. And B20 is a storyline investors will be watching most closely in the upcoming second quarter bank results. Oh, so I thought this was about the Federal Reserve raising raising the interest rates, but I guess it's not. It's more about it's more about the Canadian housing market and how it's overexposed, apparently, that guy says. So let's actually let's go into some marijuana news. Let's see what's happening in the cannabis market. It's 6:30 right now, so the market has not opened yet, but there doesn't seem to be too much going on in the news. BC craft cannabis producers ask for pre-legalization protection. This is amazing. Craft cannabis growers and sellers in British Columbia want the federal and provincial governments to take immediate steps to protect the future of their businesses ahead of legalization this year. You know, see, if they get this approved, it just shows that all the other companies in the rest of the provinces will do the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't they? Because it's just if BC is they're taking immediate steps to protect their future of their businesses, why wouldn't any other company do that? I mean, it would be a no-brainer at that point. Let's see what's happening in the market itself. OCC warns on unregistered cryptocurrency investment groups. Ooh. This is, people are really going crazy about this cryptocurrency. The Ontario Securities Exchange is warning the public that several groups are promoting investments in cryptocurrencies without having the necessary potential registrations. The OSC says BitSerial, Hypercube, CabinCoin, and BapPay have not provided prospects as required or received an exemption. It says none of the 4 or 50 entity calls BTC Real is registered to solicit investments or provide advice on investing, buying or selling securities. The provider regulator is asking people who had dealings with the business to contact OSC. Well, anyways, if any of you have business with these companies, you should call the OSC. So I guess that's enough for investing. There's not really much going on. Let's go see what's happening on BBC. Just a quick overview of the world news. As all of you have probably already know, I live in Canada, or maybe not. But yeah, so I'll start off with world news, and then I'll eventually lead my way down to more local news, such as in specifically Alberta, Calgary, where I live in. So this is interesting. Venezuela election. Maduro wins second term. Go on, don't play. I hate this autoplay, man. We don't need to autoplay. Maduro wins second term and claims of voting rigging. Venezuela's president Nicolas Maduro has won re-election to another 6-year term in a vote marred by an opposition boycott and claims of vote rigging. I mean, at this point, isn't it Venezuela? Isn't it just complete chaos? Like, how could they have a valid election? Animated food shortages stemming from the severe economic crisis. Economic crisis turnout was low. The National Electoral Council (CNE) puts it as just 46%, but the opposition aligns it with even lower. The main opposition candidate, Henry Falcon, rejected the results soon after the polls collapsed and called for new election. We do not recognize this electoral process as valid. We have new elections in Venezuela. We have to have a new elections in Venezuela, he said. What's the results? With more than 90% of the votes counted, Mr. Maduro had 67.7% announced, and Mr. Falcon had 1.8 million votes, she said. Why is there a row about the turnout? With Venezuela's main opposition coalition boycotting the election, a win by President Maduro had been widely expected. What observers were more interested in was to see how many Venezuelans would turn out to vote. The CNE said turnout would probably rise to 48%, still well before the figure in 2013 presidential election, when almost 80% of the eligible voters cast their ballots. The opposition, however, accused CNE of inflating its figures and claimed the real numbers was closer to 30%. A source within the CNE told Reuters that only 32.3% of eligible voters had their cast ballot by 1800 local time, when most voting stations were closed. 1800 local time, for those of you that don't know, is 6 p.m. specifically, to vote or to veto. I think it's, yeah, it is. Yeah. Can the CNE figures be trusted? Under the Venezuelan constitution, the CNE is an official independent body responsible for overseeing and guaranteeing the transparency of all elections. It was made up of 5 members. The opposition alleges that the 4 of the 5 are government stooges and therefore does not trust the body to be independent. Luis Emilio Rondo, the one that CNE Remember, which has been critical of government, said he did not recognize the results because Venezuela's freedom to vote had not been respected. What was President Maduro's reaction? Mr. Maduro's supporters were jubilant. The 55-year-old cheering crowds outside the president's palace in Caracas that the revolution he is to stay. His supporters chanted, "Let's go, Nico," as fireworks went off and confetti was fired in the air. He also mocked his main rival, Mr. Falcon, saying he had left Grani by the knockout victory Mr. had achieved. Why is opposition crying foul? The main opposition coalition had warned that the election would not be free and fair. It said the poll had brought forward the December 2018 to take advantage of the disarray within the opposition ranks, and that some of the most promising candidates have been banned from standing or jailed, while many others fled the country. That is why it was called for a boycott. Mr. Falcon, however, broke ranks, arguing Venezuelans should be given a chance to vote Mr. out of office. But following the vote, he too alleged it had been rigged for Mr. Maduro's favor by abuse of scanning the state-issued benefits card used for accessing foods. He has called for a rerun. What is the rerun going to do? I don't think these people understand, man. Voting doesn't do anything when you're in the state of this chaos. When you're in the state of chaos, all voting does is distract you from the real issues. I know people are going to think what I just said very controversial, and probably you're not going to agree with it, but they're not. Voting only works when everybody's on board and everybody's voting. If only 46% of the population is voting, obviously there's a bigger issue than the election being rigged. People are not coming to show up to vote. Like, what do you expect to happen? It's like, I don't know. The world it's in chaos, but well, some parts of the world anyways. I don't know. I don't think people are going to be happy about this Maduro winning the election. Deadly knife-find virus claims victims in India. Oh, that's not very good. U.S. to probe students hits back at hijab criticism. I don't know. Not a lot of stuff happened in the news today, huh? That's pretty funny. I thought it would be pretty hot today. Why North Korea is destroying its nuclear test? Why is Canada in a battle with Vice? how I survived this. Looks like the news is pretty dead today. I guess let's see what's happening on trending. Let's go to Google Trends. What's trending right now? The British Royal Wedding, Prom 2018, and Guns in America. Stories trending now. Let's check out this. A Business Insider. I guess we're back to business. An incident back in 2006 shows just how far back Theranos' deception went in the company's history. I don't know if people know about her, but she essentially started this startup for this new revolutionary way of injecting medicine to you and also getting blood out of you or something like that. It would have been a lot easier. I'll let the page explain. Blood testing company Theranos had been around for 12 years before questions started getting raised. However, the company had a long history of deceptive practices. In Wall Street Journal investigation report, Bad Blood, Secret and Lies in Silicon Valley Startup, he describes a demonstration of technology in 2006 in which recorded blood testing results were presented as real-time results. While in Switzerland for the demonstration, one of the readers had malfunctions and fake results was sent over from California. While Theranos was founded in 2006, questions didn't get started raised about the company until near 12 years later when Wall Street Journal investigative reporter John Carreiro started poking holes into its claims about its new blood test. The test, which used a much smaller amount of blood than normal blood tests, had been touted as being able to work across hundreds of tests from potassium levels to diagnosing herpes. But Carreiro outlines in his book, Bad Blood, troubles was brewing years earlier. Back in 2006, about 3 years after the company got off ground, the Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes gave a demonstration to the pharmaceutical giant Novartis in Switzerland. The demonstration, by all accounts, was a success, but all the Theranos employees who had been on the trip didn't seem too excited, noticed Theranos' former chief financial officer Henry Moseley. What? Oh my god, guys. So I just got a notification on my camera that I have insufficient storage on my memory card. So we're gonna have to go on without the camera for the rest of the podcast. But I'm sure you guys won't mind. I mean, you don't even want to. Do you even want to look at my face? Mostly wanted to know if that what happened at the Nortis. That's because the blood testing system that team had demonstrated in Switzerland didn't always work. To mask the problem, the team had recorded results that could be displayed during a demo to investors. Moseley wanted to know if that happened at the Novartis meeting. Here's what Kerry Rowe recounts it in his book. Mosley couldn't get a straight answer from anyone, but he now suspected a similar sleight of hand, and he was right. One of the two readers Elizabeth took to Switzerland had malfunctioned when they got there. The employees she brought with her had stayed up all night trying to get it work. To mask the problem during a demo the next morning, Tim Kemp's team in California had beamed over a fake result. After Mosley learned this, he brought it up to Holmes, who admitted there had been an issue but didn't seem bothered by it. But when he brought up that he suspected the test had been malfunctioned during the meetings with the investor, Holmes' tone changed and he was fired. What? After that's interesting. He got fired. Wait, who got fired? I don't understand. Who's Mosley? Mosley is Elizabeth Holmes. Oh, okay. But the Theranos employees who had been on the noticed Theranos' former financial. Oh, okay, he was the former. Mosley couldn't get a straight answer, but Elizabeth took. Oh, I see. Oh, wow. Oh, so Mosley's the one that kind of came to the story. Wow, this is incredible. Yeah, this lady basically, essentially, she wanted to be the next Steve Jobs. She raised a couple $1 billion, I heard, and she even got investments from Warren Buffett. So that's pretty crazy if you think about it. Guess let's check out what's going on YouTube. See what's going on in trending. Of course, the royal wedding's happening. I mean, who cares? It's not even a royal being married anymore. Just random people off the street. They just get whoever they want. So is that what BuzzFeed is just doing now? They just took this to next level. It's worth it. They're just making all sorts of worth it now. $600 vote versus $41 million vote. Oh wow. They figured it out, man. They figured it out. Loose new haircut. I don't know. There's nothing interesting happening. Oh, let's see this.
A controversial tax on businesses in Seattle.
$500 per employee per year. Seattle's Silly City Council just passed a new head tax on its 600 biggest companies. We need the money, say the politicians, to provide apartments for homeless people.
We are ready to fight. Housing is a human right.
Are you with us? Yeah! Let's keep fighting.
This councilwoman, a member of the Socialist Alternative Party, led this protest.
Oh, I saw this earlier.
Seattle does have a problem with camps of street people. Homelessness has doubled in the last 8 years.
About 4,000 people living on the streets and in vehicles.
There are many reasons for that, but one is that Amazon and other companies brought so many new jobs to Seattle that the demand for housing exceeded the supply. Normally when that happens, builders are thrilled because prices go up and they quickly build new housing to sell to the new workers. Win-win. But in Seattle, politicians make that very difficult. Seattle's building code is 700 pages long. It says things like welded splices must be made of a certain kind of steel. Foam plastic signs shall not be greater than a half-inch thick. Then the residential building code is another 700 pages. Can Seattle relieve its housing shortage by
See,
building more skyscrapers?
I think,
No.
see, right now, people are going to probably say, of course we need regulation. Of course, we need building codes, you know. The devil's advocate could be, what do you mean? These companies have to follow proper procedure. They're building these massive skyscrapers. But I guarantee it, people, I guarantee it, that book he just showed is nowhere the amount of information you need to build a building. Of course you need regulation. Of course you need building codes. But there's no way that you need that much. And that's kind of the problem in this world. It's like we have too much instructions. We have too many step-by-steps for people. And just do this, just do that. We're holding everybody's hand. We need to stop doing
Most
that.
of Seattle's land area, high-rises are illegal. Zoning rules say only single-family houses may be built. Seattle's big government restrictions created the housing problem. So now they want to solve it with more heavy-handed government? When the politicians proposed the head tax,
Amazon announced it would pause construction on its new building downtown pending the final decision.
Amazon's web services boss said,
What company is going to want to start or move to or grow in a city that penalizes them for hiring full-time employees?
good question.
No head tax! No head tax!
Construction workers started protesting against the head tax.
But if we fight against each other,
No head tax! No head tax!
Supporters of big government aren't used to protesters drowning them out.
Wow.
can I make an appeal? Can I?
Still, in Seattle, plenty of leftists are ready to march in the name of class warfare.
Pitting workers, against their own class interests.
Amazon's executives, they say, are behaving like mobsters. For stopping construction, they should be prosecuted for extortion.
Shame on Amazon and Jeff Bezos for holding construction.
Come on,
jobs
why does it have to freaking start freezing at the best time? Like, it's such freaking
A
hootenanny.
controversial tax on businesses in Seattle.
When the politicians proposed the head tax,
Amazon announced it would pause construction on its new building downtown pending the final decision.
and protesting
Like, what's going on, people? Why? Why do you do this to me, YouTube? Do you hate me? Do you not want to see me succeed on YouTube?
Businesses.
Is that it?
said,
What company is going to want to start or move to or grow in a city that penalizes them for hiring full-time employees?
We don't know.
good question.
We don't know.
No head tax! No head tax!
Construction workers started protesting against the head tax.
But if we fight against each other,
No head tax! No head tax!
Supporters of big government aren't used to protesters drowning them out.
can I make an appeal? Can I?
Still, in Seattle, plenty of leftists are ready to march in the name of class warfare.
Pitting workers, against their own class interests.
Against
Amazon-
their own class interest. How is that against their own class interest? All they want is a job. That's all they want. They don't want a handout. They don't want help. They want job, okay?
Executives, they say, are behaving like mobsters. For stopping construction, they should be prosecuted for extortion.
Shame on Amazon and Jeff Bezos for holding construction jobs hostage in an extortionary threat against the city.
They call Amazon the enemy. Give me a break. Amazon created the jobs that the politicians now want to tax. If a company says tax is too much, we'll leave, that's extortion?
It is extortion from Amazon.
Come on. If anyone's acting like mobsters, it's the politicians. At least America has some tax.
Yeah, it's another thing. The business only has it could only operate in the realms of society. Whatever politicians set the rules, that's the guidelines that these businesses operate under. If politicians don't have the power where they can get, if a certain company gives them money, they can do these things where they give tax cuts and subsidize them, and just pass a bill where they can do these sort of things without getting properly checked on. If we give the politicians that power, if there is that, just I don't know, that like space to be filled, it will be filled with money, and it will come from somewhere. It will come wherever money is, and right now money is in people that own businesses.
Politicians in one city or state get too greedy, people can move elsewhere. A few years ago, when New York politicians raised taxes, Donald, not yet President Trump, told me rich people will eventually just leave. You haven't left.
I haven't left yet.
Are you going to leave?
Big story if I leave, I guess. If I leave New York, that's a big story. Look, the rich people are going to leave, and other people are going to leave. You're going to end up with lots of people that don't produce, and then that's the spiral. That's the end.
He was right. We don't want the spiral. If wealth creators leave, then there's no one left to tax. Monday, Seattle's politicians finally realized that. Sort of. They said, okay, we won't take $500 per employee. Now it'll be just $275. That adjustment was enough to get Amazon to resume its construction in Seattle, but it says future expansion's now in doubt. Seattle's taxes and rules are a reason that Amazon will build its second headquarters someplace else.
I mean, if Amazon is making billions of dollars, I don't see why it's a problem for them to donate this money, or to pay up whatever they need to pay up. But I'm sure there are some issues that we don't know about, some crazy factors and variables that probably if we knew about, we would be saying the same thing. Because, like Amazon is a company. They're not just some donation center. They're here to make their owners happy, and they're trying to make, they're trying to give their employees money, and they're trying to create money so they can run this whole operation they got going. You know how many buildings they have now on the whole mass scale they've done? You know how much money that takes to operate, maintain, employ? It takes billions of dollars. It's incredible. See what's happening in Ukraine. It's pretty dangerous. New York's, I'm pretty afraid of what's happening.
This video has sent a shiver across Ukraine. The marching young men are far-right nationalists from the Nationalny Drużyny, or National Militia. They're at a sacred spot, Ukraine's crucible. Maidan, Independence Square in central Kiev. This was the Maidan in 2014, as hundreds of thousands of people rallied and ultimately forced out an unpopular president. Russia branded it a coup, orchestrated by neo-Nazis and fascists. It wasn't true then, but 4 years on, Ukraine's far right is on the march, and there appears little appetite for stopping it.
Are you from Kiev?
Yes, I'm from Kiev, from this district.
The National Militia have permission to patrol unarmed on Ukraine's streets.
So what are we looking for, Alexander?
В первую очередь полиция попросила нас проконтролировать точки кредитирования, на которые в последнее время на которых часто начали случаться разбои. Вот. И уже косвенно мы контролируем вообще ситуацию на улице, то есть пытаемся выявить какие-то правонарушения и среагировать.
It's pretty tame stuff. They spot a woman drinking alcohol near a kid's playground.
Либо допивайте сейчас, либо выбрасывайте.
Не, жалко, вы бросите деньги заплачили.
Или дома там допить, просто на детской площадке.
We then go to a place where punters can gamble on computer terminals.
Здравствуйте. Игра закончена.
We're told it's been operating illegally, as its owners allegedly have links to Russia. It's unspectacular stuff. The national militia call the police out,
Незаконний гральний бізнес.
and reluctantly they appear and go through the motions. What the national militia want us to film is that they're a force for good, here to restore order and make the police do their job.
К сожалению, полиция не справляется со всеми проблемами, которые существуют в нашей стране. Естественно, мы, как патриоты Украины, возлагаем эти функции на себя.
It's a message that has some resonance. There's a growing despondency here about how little has changed. The next day, we're contacted by the company that owns the gambling shop. It turns out that many of their other branches have also been raided by the national militia.
Где-то около часа дня к нам забежали группа молодых людей, человек 20-25.
This is the national militia when journalists aren't watching.
В масках с молотками, с битами, в куртках с надписью «Национальная дружина». Они кричали «Слава Украине», еще там какие-то свои лозунги. Начали здесь все просто громить. Полная разруха. Все было побито абсолютно.
We're given other footage, which shows more places being trashed, men lighting fireworks indoors, even setting one location on fire. The national militia tell us they're working alongside the police, but they have also, on several occasions, fought them. Here they brawled and used pepper spray on officers as they tried and failed to pressure a judge into keeping an allegedly corrupt politician in custody. The national militia are part of a group called Azov. Initially a volunteer military battalion, it has well-established links to the far right. Its founder, this man Andrei Beletsky, has in the past expressed racist and anti-Semitic views. And its logo has clear Nazi overtones.
Oh, come on, man.
My favorite quote from Andrei Beletsky is that the destiny of the Ukrainian nation is to be an avant-garde in holy war of white people against underhumans led by Semites.
What?
Beletsky now denies he ever said that, but as this oath-making ceremony shows, he's not running away from the dubious imagery. Azov has now started a political party, as well as launching the national militia. The toxic racism has, in public at least, been replaced by patriotic nationalism.
Do you now reject those values that you had in the past?
Багато води витекло з того часу, багато чого змінилося в країні. Ми декларували завжди законні вимоги, законні бажання в управлінні державою корінного населення, управління державою.
Is it ever okay to use violence to achieve your aims?
Коли особа намагається придушити або подавити волю народу з допомогою правоохоронних органів, частних армій чи якихось інших структурних, неструктурних підрозділів, тоді народ має право витребувати навіть в силовій боротьбі своє право назад.
The national militia have already been flexing their muscles in Ukrainian politics. This is the city hall in the town of Cherkasy. Look at it now. All
come on.
The outside are.
Why do you do this to me? It froze again. I've said it again, people, we need internet to be made instant. I need it worldwide, I need it everywhere I go, all the time, 100, fast.
Flexing their muscles in Ukraine.
It's not fast enough. It's not fast enough. Well, Anyways, that's enough of Ukraine, I guess. I guess that's enough of what would you say, of world politics and news. Let's look at some fun stuff. Meerkat solves.
Over the last 10 years, Dr. Alex Thornton has designed a series of tests to try and find out how information spreads through meerkat societies and how they innovate.
We designed a series of innovation tasks to look at which individuals and groups would be likely to innovate solutions to new problems.
They're finding all these
In
tests.
this experiment, a scorpion is served to a meerkat in a modified lunchbox. To get to the snack,
Like, why? Like, it's a 2-minute video. Why is it... I don't understand. Why is it complaining? Why are you loading?
over the last 10 years,
Designed a series of innovation tasks to look at which individuals and groups would be likely to innovate solutions to new problems.
in this experiment, a scorpion is served to a meerkat in a modified lunchbox. To get to the snack, its instinct is to try and take route 1 through the clear plastic walls.
That's not gonna work.
But some meerkats can learn to put aside that instinct and take a different approach. There's another way in. Turn the lid.
In fact, the individuals that were likely to solve them were low-ranking, subordinate individuals, and particularly males. Dominant individuals are able to get food by stealing, so they don't need to innovate. It's the low-ranking individuals that need to innovate because essentially necessity is the mother of invention.
Wow.
And especially the males, because it's the males who will leave their natal group to go and look for breeding opportunities elsewhere, so they're really going to face hardship when they leave. And it pays for them to try and figure out new ways of getting food.
So I get it just pays off to be smart. That's pretty haven't heard that one before, B. I guess let's see what's happening on BNN just real quick. I want to see if they got any updates. Not BBN, BNN. No, nothing. There's nothing. Usually they'd have something interesting by now. Ken's a laughing stock. Nothing on YouTube. Bum bum bum. Send my ear. You're breaking the car. Giant earthworm. Tombstone versus radioactive.
The hot battle is on. Here comes Tombstone. And look at this, Kenny. I've heard of Ray doing this in other matches. He's not spinning his blade. He's toying with him. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Here comes that blade.
Done. Tombstone.
Look at that blade spin. He's going to go in for the kill right now, Chris. Already radioactive's exposed.
Oh, come on. This is just unfair. That's way too unfair.
Billings is having way too much fun out there. He's talking trash.
Come on, that's kind of unfair. I wonder what that guy used. How did he figure it out? That's a very good invention. Get him! Finish him! Of course that's gonna happen, bro. That guy's tombstone is amazing. What's this? Mr. Doodle. Whoa, he does all these doodles. Whoa. Whoa, this guy is so good at doodling. Oh my god, he doodles entire rooms. Wow, check this guy out, guys. Oh my god, it's just a bunch of freaking faces. How does he do this? I bet he enjoys this so much. Seems to be enjoying it. That's pretty cool. You guys should check out Mr. Doodle. What do we got here? 46-minute. Family never believed their grandpa's crazy stories. I guess let's watch something funny. Let's end it with something funny. Some funny. You guys want to watch something funny? Come on, let's do it. Let's watch something funny. Oh, okay, wow. I don't know if I wanna.
Oh my God.
Is this funny? Like, why do these people think they can do this and get away with it?
This is the world we live in.
Fuck you, justice for Isaiah. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Justice for Isaiah. Justice for Isaiah. Justice for Isaiah.
What is going on, man?
I'm gonna tell you in 2
Like,
minutes.
look at what these people are doing, and they're telling me that they want to solve problems. How are they capable of solving problems? Nobody gets ran over. Oh, there.
What the fuck?
Oh shit. They broke her leg or something. Yeah, well, that's what's gonna happen when you stand in front of a freaking car. Big dick. Okay, let's end it with something funny. We want to watch something funny. Come on, YouTube. What can you give us? What can you give us? That's not funny. I don't find any of this funny. Go on, give me the funny stuff, YouTubes. Where's the funny stuff? People just don't maintain your stance. We will find a funny video. Don't you worry. Videos that keep me from ending it all. Perfect.
Hi, this is Kelly calling from your CVS pharmacy. I'd just like to let you know that your anal wart removal cream, your Buckshot, and your Viagra are now in. And we also got those extra small condoms that you needed. So please go ahead and let me know when you'll be coming in so I can...
There's this game my father taught me years ago. It's called Switch. The premise of the game is you take one finger, put it in your mouth, the other one goes up your asshole. And he says, go, you switch.
What the hell?
Coming April 12th. Oh, it's real. It's real, son.
Oh my god.
Share Lloyd by Share Lloyd or Rebecca G. Then. And don't forget all the trouble we got into.
Why does somebody not know how to flush a toilet after they've had a shit?
That's what me.
Well, it was fucking one of yous. Disgusting!
Featured. Because guess what? It's a bunch of dudes. And I do not appreciate that.
Can you just call me a woman? I'm legally a man.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh no. What? 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 I guess we'll end it with that. People, I don't know. Should we just finish her? See what she's got to say. But yeah, we'll just end it with that. If, you know, just make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, check me out on Twitter. And just comment down below what I should comment next. And, I mean, what I should film next. And I hope you've enjoyed. Have a wonderful day.